NXT this week, kicking it up another notch, building up to NXT Takeover Brooklyn. Kudos to you, NXT. Kudos to you. Hello, all NXT fans, and welcome to another NXT review with me, Mike McRock, one half of the MRB Wrestling Review Show. Right now, I'm going to deliver to you your review for the August 5th edition of NXT. And we kick off the show this week with Charlotte going one-on-one with Bayley. And how all this came about is when Bayley came back and decided that she wants to face bigger and better competition in order to face the NXT champion Sasha Banks down the road. And what I really like is that this is Bayley's quest and Bayley's story about getting to that point. And really this whole view with Sasha Banks and Bayley, even though it's not really happening yet, this is really revolving around one person instead of a two-way thing between two people. But I hope that the interaction happens at the NXT show before the 2-hour special. And this match with Bayley and Charlotte was a really good way to kick out the show this week. It was a good, solid wrestling match between two women where both of them looked good. I think that, Charlotte kicking out of the first Bayley to Bayley maneuver, I think was smart because it led to Bayley applying the Bayley to Bayley to Charlotte off the second rope, where she gains the pinfall victory, which I liked because not only do you make Charlotte look good and make her look strong, but you also make Bayley even stronger at the end. It's a win-win situation for all parties involved, and like I said, this is all about Bayley wanting to get that shot at the NXT Women's Championship. And then we get backstage with William Regal and Bayley, and William Regal said, "You're going to earn it, but with just one more match, and that's against Becky Lynch." And while I like the idea of, Bayley facing Becky Lynch, the winner to face number one, to be the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship, I think that this will come across a lot more if they were going about this the route of this is all about Bayley and Bayley's road to redemption kind of thing. I would rather see her face someone maybe like a Paige, who's already been NXT champion, or maybe a Natalya coming down to make Bayley look good going into the next 2-hour special. To me, if you're going to use Becky Lynch on NXT, have her come back and have her rejuvenate herself and get her identity back instead of feeding her to Bayley. That's my issue with it. So even though I kind of like the match, it is what it is. It is all about Bayley at the end. And I think what's going to happen is that Bayley's going to win this and continue on as her quest, as her journey to become the next in line for the NXT Women's Championship and face Sasha Banks at NXT Takeover Brooklyn. So before I get into the next thing I'm going to talk about on NXT, I'm going to briefly talk about what we also saw on the show. We had a vignette, or a couple of vignettes, with Bull Dempsey of him wanting to train again because he feels like that he really needs to take his training seriously, and now he's starting to trying to lift weights and trying to lift that big tire. It was quite the funny things that I've seen on NXT that made the show really stand out even more. I kind of like the training sessions with Bull Dempsey, to be honest with you. I hope it leads for something with the guy. At least they're giving Bull Dempsey a direction. And we also had the announcement that Uhaa Nation, now known as Apollo Crews for some odd reason, knocking off Apollo Creed, is making his NXT debut at the 2-hour special NXT Takeover in Brooklyn, which I like. I'm really looking forward to that as well. And we also get a match with Tyler Breeze. Now, I'm not going to talk about the match because he was facing a jobber. This was mainly about what Tyler Breeze should be doing, because he seems to be not in a good place right now on NXT. He's kind of directionless, And what we got is William Regal coming out and announcing that at NXT Brooklyn Takeover, the 2-hour special, that Tyler Breeze is going to face Josh. I'll try to pronounce this right. Justin Thunder Liger. And I have no idea who this guy is. He's kind of new to me, but I understand that he's a real veteran in the business. And what I like is that, they made this cool video package of Thunder Liger about him in his old days of WCW, which is cool, for the fans that don't know him, because you want to introduce or reintroduce the guy who's been around the block for so many years, and a guy who's, a lot older. I like that, he's coming in for NXT, even if it's just for one match, and being booked to face someone like a Tyler Breeze, because really this is all about, to me, not only the re-debut of Thunder Liger, but also about Tyler Breeze. And I think that, in order to be successful in the business, you have to face people that are better than you, and this is a good way to utilize Tyler Breeze, because he's facing someone who is a veteran who's been around the block for a lot of years in the old WCW days. So kudos to NXT this week for delivering us this video package of who Justin Thunder Liger is. I really dig it, and I hope that, his debut or re-debut or whatever you want to call it is something memorable at the 2-hour special event. We also get a tag team match on the show, and that was Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder taking on the Hype Bros, Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder. And this was an okay match. Nothing spectacular really happened. Here you have the Hype Bros win the match, and then after the match you get Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder attacks Zack Ryder at the end, which gives them the heel heat. Now, even though I feel like they just come off as jobbers, at least they're getting something out of this segment. And to me, it's a win-win situation. When I look at it, this is NXT's way of protecting the Hype Bros, but making sure that Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder get the heel heat over after coming off of that surprising win that they had on NXT a couple of weeks ago facing Team Soft. So I kind of like what they've done here with both teams. And again, it's another good situation. It's a win-win situation, and with a decent match in the mix of all of it. One thing I would like to point out is that after I watched this match, I was kind of thinking, okay, where are they going to go in the direction when it comes to the tag team division going into the NXT Takeover Brooklyn show? And we kind of got that answer. It was the Vaudevillains getting a rematch against the tag team champions, Blake and Murphy. And William Regal said he'll make sure that, Alexa Bliss will be taken care of. I would like to see William Regal just put Alexa Bliss up in a cage, high up, way over the ring, something out of the old days like you've seen before, something of that nature. I think would look pretty cool. It would look good on Alexa Bliss, and it would also look good on Blake and Murphy. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing this match. So at least for the 2-hour special event, they're starting to give directions for for the three main titles. The tag team titles, the NXT Women's Championship, and the NXT Main Championship. And speaking of the NXT Championship, on the show this week we had two different sit-down interview segments on the show. We had Michael Cole interviewing Kevin Owens, and then later we had Byron Saxton interviewing Finn Balor. And the first one we got was the one with Kevin Owens. And in that sit-down interview, you had Kevin Owens talking about what Regal said behind his back after he apologized to him, said that he hopes that Finn Balor beats Kevin Owens for the championship. And they also touched base on, the history with Sami Zayn. And then he starts to get all paranoid and stuff. He wants to make sure that we don't get another Montreal screw job. And he's the guy from Montreal, but it's in Brooklyn. And that he is requesting to have the match be a ladder match so that there's no screwy finish with the referee. And later on we had Finn Balor accepting that ladder match and him talking about his relationship with Sami Zayn and talking about that Sami Zayn is telling him what Kevin Owens is all about, to help him out, to face Kevin Owens for the championship. And really, he is the underdog going in, even though it's the champ. I like what Kevin Owens said in that promo segment from a couple of weeks ago in the contract signing. And speaking of that contract signing, what I like here is that they don't interact with each other this week. We got that with the contract signing a couple of weeks ago, so it's good to mix it up and have a variety. And you also want to let the fans know that there's a main event for the 2-hour special, the NXT Championship between Kevin Owens and Finn Balor, and what better way to do it by having 2 separate backstage interviews with both guys and both of them doing separate things. Maybe at the last episode of NXT before the 2-hour special, you have that final interaction between the two of them. And then we get into the last match on NXT this week, and that was the match between Samoa Joe and Rhyno. And I kind of like this match. It was a good, solid, big man's wrestling match. They didn't have to do a lot, which is a good thing. It was nothing spectacular, but it got the point across, I think. And I think the right person won here, Samoa Joe, because Rhyno is a guy that's just there to help out the other guy go over, and I think they've done a good job in accomplishing that area. However, with that said, even though I like the ending to this match, the end of the show kind of fell flat in my opinion. This would have been a really good opportunity to set something up for the NXT 2-hour special in Brooklyn between Samoa Joe and Baron Corbin. What they could have done in this last segment is end on that cliffhanger note after Samoa Joe beats Rhyno with the Muscle Buster. You have his moment for a little bit, and then you have Baron Corbin come out, comes into the ring, and just faces off with Samoa Joe. Ending on that cliffhanger note that makes you wanting to leave hanging, wanting for more. And I never got that this week. To me, the ending fell flat. Not the ending of the match, because I thought the match was fine, but just the ending of the show overall. It was like, okay, we're looking forward to the Becky Lynch versus Bayley match, which is fine, but I wanted this match to end and the show to end on that cliffhanger note of Baron Corbin and Samoa Joe facing off and hopefully building up to a match at Takeover Brooklyn. That's what I wanted to see, but I didn't quite get that. But overall, this was actually a pretty good show this week. They had a variety of segments on the show, and besides the Baron Corbin Jobber squash match we got later on, earlier on, every segment had something to offer, and it came across in a good way. The show had that variety with video packages, that training session with Bull Dempsey, the announcement of Apollo Crews debuting at TakeOver Brooklyn, and in the couple of sit-down interviews with Kevin Owens and Finn Balor, with 5 matches, but only a couple that are setting up for another big match at TakeOver. So this was a solid to good 7 out of 10 type of NXT show, and that they're building up to the 2-hour special event. So if you saw NXT this week, what did you think about it? Feel free to leave those comments right here in the comment section below. And you can also hit that subscribe button down below this video to become an MRBer on this wrestling review show.